What do I like and dislike about RPG Maker? Do you notice an audio difference? I got a new mic. Check out the video where I unboxed that mic in the description, if you will. So I've got a list of pros and cons about RPG Maker. So the first pro is that it is simple, easy, and efficient. You can make games really fast with it. And it's very easy to learn. For most people, it was very easy to learn for me. It's one of the simplest engines out there, I think. The second pro is that it's good for learning the basics of game development. If you just want to make games, if you just want to learn how to make games, RPG is a good place to start. Because everything is so basic, and it's just like the most basic of basics. And then you can move on to a more complex game engine. The next pro is that it is not subscription based, meaning once you buy it, you have it and it's yours and you can use it, and it's not like a blood-sucking parasite that keeps on taking your money. You just buy it right up front, and then you just use it. It's simple. That's how everything should be, if you ask me. The next pro is that there's a massive variety of resources that come with the engine. So take a look at this. You start out with so much that you don't have to like implement it into the engine. It's just there. There's so much built into the engine. Like if I wanted to make a shop, it would be as easy as just doing this. If I wanted to make a shop, I would just press this and add what's in the shop, and it's as simple as that. Same thing with battles and many other things. So there's a lot of resources built into the engine. The next pro is that there's a bunch of good tutorials for this engine, which is another reason why it's so easy to learn. I learned how to use RPG Maker by just watching tutorials on YouTube, and there's a bunch of them. So basically, here's the entire list of pros in one small little sentence. It's simple, easy, efficient, there's a lot of resources built in, and a lot of mechanics built in. This is the fastest way to make games, it's just through RPG Maker. Because it does so much for you. That's the main pro, I think. Now let's get into some cons. Here's what I dislike about RPG Maker. The number one thing I dislike about RPG Maker is that it lacks so much freedom. Really all you can make is just RPGs and games that are like RPGs. It's not limited to just a turn-based RPG. You could make like a little choice game too, I suppose. I don't know all the types of games you could possibly make, but it is limited. This is what I mean by using RPG Maker to learn about game development and then moving on to a better engine, and I mean better as in freedom. Moving on to an engine that has more freedom, so you can make really anything. And you can make good games in RPG Maker, there's no doubt about that. It's just that those games are limited to like just RPGs, because it's called RPG Maker. But if all you want to make is an RPG, you don't want to make like any other type of game, you just want to make an RPG, then you really ought to just stick with RPG Maker. But if you want to make other games, just move on to a different engine. The next con is that the plugins for RPG Maker are complicated, at least for me. I tried to get plugins working so many times, but I could never really get any plugins to work. And that might just be me. I probably would stick with RPG Maker as my main engine that I'm going to use for the remainder of existence, but I just can't get the plugins to work, which is why I'm eventually going to move on to a different engine. But right now I'm still using it though, to make this game, The Quest for Dagatha. You should check out the devlog series about this game. If you're gonna make a game and publish it to like Steam or something in this engine, you really need plugins, otherwise people are gonna say it's generic, is what I'm saying. And I can't get plugins to work. So I'm limited to just making generic RPGs that have the same mechanics as most other RPGs made with this engine, you know what I mean? Because it has a lot of mechanics built into the engine, but you can't really make any new mechanics. So that's con number 2. Con number 3 is it's expensive. It's like $40 or $80. I don't really remember the exact price, but I think I got like a 50% discount on it, and it was still $40 for me. You can decide if $80 or $100, whatever it is worth it. For me, it definitely was worth it. Not just because I got a 50% discount, but because I've learned so much about game development from RPG Maker. So for me, the price is definitely worth it, but that might not be the case for you. And the final con is that it's just really hard to customize. Here's what I mean by it's really hard to customize. If you look over here, you have a bunch of resources, a bunch of little sprite thingies, But if you want to make your own and implement them into the engine, that's a kind of tedious process, or at least it was for me. Same thing with the plugins. Maybe the plugins aren't that tedious. Maybe the customization isn't that tedious. Maybe I just can't figure it out. But for me, I could never really figure out how to, like, if I wanted to make my own castle, if I didn't want to use this one, and I, like, draw the castle, I could never implement it into the actual engine and put it in the game. It just wouldn't work. So really the main pro is that it's simple, easy, and efficient. It's a good way to learn, and the main con is that you're very, very, very limited in what you can do. So that's what I like and dislike about RPG Maker. Hopefully this video helped you. If it did, leave a comment. If it didn't, leave a comment too, and tell me what I could have done better. Also, just a quick little announcement that has nothing to do with the video topic. I have made 3 new channels. Those channels are Gary's Hobbies, Gary Lego Builder, and Gary Foam Flinger. Gary Foam Flinger is a Nerf channel, if you don't know what foam flinging is. They're in the description, check them out. I also have a gaming channel that I've had for a long time if you didn't already know. So check all those channels out if you will.